Hey guys, welcome back to my fucking channel. I'm fucked up, I'm drunk, I'm high, I'm just loopy as shit. I woke up at like 4 p.m. today because like my sleeping schedule is so fucked lately, like fucked, like so fucking fucked. I'm fucking old now, like I'm 28, like I turned like a whole like few days like, you know, older. My last video I was literally 27 and I'm just like an old lady. I held a poll on my Instagram asking what the fuck my next YouTube video should be about, and by a very small margin, people picked a follow-up to my ghost stories over telling a very fucked up story. So I listen to the people, I give them what they want, I'm a fucking people pleaser. Just if you haven't watched like my first ghost video, go do that, because like I feel like you'll understand where I'm coming from more in like reference to ghosts, like if you watch that. So my whole first like ghost video was just about like the very first house I lived in from like ages of like the day I was born to like 8 years old. So this video is gonna like cover hopefully like the time period between when I moved to the second house I lived in, like until like I stopped living there basically. Third video is gonna transition right like from this one because, and I don't know when that'll be because it's literally been like 7 months or something since I uploaded my first ghost video, but the third video is very much so entwined with the end of what this one will be. It's like 2002, I'm living in my new house. Like it's like a new neighborhood, like houses being built. It's like during that time when like houses were just like being built all over the fucking place. One time Gabriella was spending the night. Me and Gabriella are in my kitchen and my mom, like I'm like 8 now, or no, I'm like 9 and this girl's like 7. And she's spending the night. I fully intend on drawing like a diagram of how my house was, and like I'll put it here, somewhere over here, just so you can see like where we were and like where this was taking place kind of. It's gonna be a shitty diagram, like I'm sure you're looking at it like what did a fucking like 2-year-old draw this, but like that's the best I got. So we're like in my kitchen at the kitchen table, and my kitchen was tiny, like it was like not like a super small house, but like a small enough house to where the kitchen was small. Like it was like a tiny kitchen, honestly, in my opinion. What the fuck was that? No, I don't like when I start talking about this shit, then shit starts happening in my house. I just heard like a weird chime beep thing. No, like that's not okay. This is why like I've tried to record this twice before and it didn't work out because I got scared. I'm scared. Home alone. I'm like, oh fuck, like not even my kids are here to like comfort me. So like in my kitchen, my mom just made us brownies because like she was trying to be nice, I guess. And like at the kitchen table eating it, because my parents were not the type of parents who were like, who let you like eat in your bedroom or like let you eat in your living room. They were just like, no, we're keeping this fucking house clean, like eat in the fucking kitchen. We don't want your crumbs all over. They were like those parents. And so we're in the kitchen like eating a fucking brownie, and from the hallway, like on the complete opposite side of the kitchen, a fucking chunk like comes flying towards us. And so we both like obviously look right at the hallway and then back at each other, and we were just like, what was that? Because like my older brother had been living there, but he was like fully in his room, like not socializing. Like he hated when I had friends over, he wasn't gonna come out and like, you know, do anything. It was just like, what was that? Because we both looked and it was like within seconds, like milliseconds, I say like within 2 seconds we looked, and like there's nothing there, no noise, no one's out of their rooms, because it's like late at night, like late-ish at night. It's like 10:30, maybe like 11. We're just like, that was really weird. What was that? And like we just kind of carried on with our lives because we're kids and like who gives a fuck. But that was the very first like clear-cut like fucking indication that something was like wrong at my house. And like I don't think either of us ever picked that piece of brownie up, by the way. Like my mom probably bitched at me for it later, like why the fuck would you leave this mess? But like it wasn't me, it was the fucking ghost. I'm trying to think of the very next time something happened. Like obviously like just like I said in my video prior, like there's always just like a weird vibe like of being watched. I always felt watched at this house, especially. Like it only happens here and there now, where I feel watched, but it does happen like kind of somewhat frequently. And sometimes I honestly thought I was crazy when I felt super watched and shit, but like you'll find out in like part 3 of this whole like thing, which by the way won't be the last part. There's definitely like a part 4 in there, maybe a part 5, but I think just part 4. But I kind of thought I was like crazy. I was like, why do I feel watched? Why am I like hearing footsteps all the time? When I was, let's say, I was like probably like 9-ish, like so around the same time as the brownie incident, maybe a few months before actually. I started sleepwalking, which had never been a thing for me, and like I was so terrified. Like I'd never been someone who was like had a hard time going to sleep or like had like bad dreams or like just like paranoia of feeling watched as fuck. There was no reason for me to think I was like realistically, you know what I mean? Like my parents never let me watch scary movies either, so like that's not a factor in this. Like they never, like they were very like protective of what I saw in a way. Like they never let me watch like anything above like PG, really, like maybe PG-13, but like they never let me watch anything like scary or like that wasn't a thing. So I never really seen anything that would lead me to like base this off of something at that time. And I started sleepwalking to the point where I would like wake up, like be woken up by like my mom and my brother, like, what are you doing? Because I'd just be walking through the house, like fully walking and just like turning lights on and off and just like doing weird shit. And, like I remember a few times they woke me up and I was just like in the hallway awake suddenly and I was just like, what, huh? And I was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Beats me. And then in like 2007, my grandma died. I was like 12 or 13 by then. And we got to my grandma's like memorial service in California. So it was like out of Arizona, obviously. And I met my great aunt for the first time. And she was super sweet woman. Love you, Aunt Linda. She brought with her all these Afghans that were my grandma's, like these Afghan blankets. Like everyone kind of like, you know, took one just to like feel like they had like a piece of her basically. Like that's obviously what she brought them for. It was very nice of her. And so at the time my favorite color was purple. My grandma's favorite color was purple. Like we had this thing with purple. And I picked like the most purple Afghan blanket that's there. And so like memorial service happens, we go home. First night I'm back at my house, in my bed. I have like my blanket over me because like I'm crazy and like I'm someone who like wants like a super cool room just so I can like turn the fan on and also have like 2 blankets over me. So I have my fan on, I put a blanket over me and then I put the Afghan blanket over that. And I'm like laying and I'm like laying on my like left side. And that night I feel someone like put their arm around me. And I feel like in any other situation, I'd be like, what the fuck? And like literally go into shock and die. But somehow, some way, like I just knew by the touch, by the feel, by the like vibe that it was like my grandma. Like I don't know how else to like explain it except I just knew. Because it was just like a comforting arm around me. That was the last thing I expected, and I've never ever felt the touch of anything like on me, like ghost wise, like besides that, like just FYI, like it's not something like I'm claiming to like experience more than once. Like it was her that one time and I know it, and like that's it. It was like she was like, it was as though she was like laying behind me, like like laying on her left side too, and like put her arm around me. Like that's what it felt like. Again, normally I'd be fucking scared shitless, like would literally like shit myself and die. And that's really the only time I've ever felt like anyone I've known like reach out to me like in a ghostly way, whatever that is that like causes that kind of shit to happen, whatever that was. That's the only time I've really experienced that specifically. I'd say like maybe 4 to 6 months after my grandma passed away, where me and my older brother, again, here's the diagram that I shittily drew to give you an example of what the fuck I'm talking about. I was in my room, he was in his room. And we did not talk about this situation until like months after this even happened. Maybe even like a year. So we're both like living here like with this experience and like not telling each other. But anyways, he was in his room like doing some who knows what, I don't want to know, teenage boy shit, I'm sure, that I don't want to know about, want no part of. and I'm in my room just like doing whatever the fuck I'm doing. I think I was like doing homework or something. And so I'm like definitely like 13, maybe 14 by then. I don't know. My brother's like 16. Yeah, he's like 2 years older than me. So he's like 16-ish. Both like minding our business. Our parents aren't home yet. Like it's like just a quiet fucking house right now. Like quiet as fuck. And I hear what sounds like, because my grandma, when she would stay with us, she would stay like a month-ish, like at a time. She was always drinking either coffee or tea, and like we had a certain cabinet that like had like all our glasses in it. It was like regular like glasses, and then above it was like coffee mug type shit. Like it just had a distinct noise, because like, you know, that kind of shit like clinking against each other, and like just like you can tell when it's super quiet in your house, like and just what certain sounds sound like. And so it very much so sounded like someone was in the kitchen, which I didn't hear Dennis go in, so I was like, that's weird. Like I didn't hear his door open or him leave his room, or like Dennis was just like a loud person. Like I would have fucking heard him if he was out of his room, you know? I hear like the very distinct sound of someone opening the cabinet, getting out like a mug and like putting it on the counter and like making a drink of some sort. Like it was very, very, very distinct. And I was just like, that is fucking weird. And I went out of my room like 5 to 10 minutes later, and like obviously Dennis was still in his room. Nothing's been touched. Like nothing's been touched, nothing's been moved. And I was just like, that's fucking weird. And so like a few months later, me and my brother actually talked about this. Like we got on the topic of ghosts or something somehow. Because like I'm saying, like my house was fucking haunted. Like there's really just no like denying it. Like every house I've lived in has had some kind of activity of the ghostly sort. So he was just like talking about some weird shit he heard, and like he explained the exact same thing like from that day. Like he was in his room, he knew I was in mine, but like he heard someone in the kitchen and he assumed it was my grandma too. And it was just so fucking bizarre, like because we did not talk to each other about this. Like he said it like telling me about it. Like it wasn't like, hey, did you hear this too? It was like, hey, like I heard this, and like at first I thought it was you, but then like I heard this and it would like make me think of grandma. I guess at some point, like either before or after I went out and looked, like he went out and looked too and like saw that it wasn't me. And so we were both just like holding on to this. There are noises happening and I'm very scared right now. I just heard something fully like tip over or something in my laundry room, and I'm scared. Like there's no one here. There's no gusts of wind within the house. Yeah. That area of my house is like so fucked, but you'll hear about that in like part 4. It's just weird that like we both experienced the same thing, and it was just like, it was like the ultimate confirmation that something that happened, like that I experienced, he experienced too. We didn't experience it together, but like we did.
Retarded. Having mental retardation, characterized by learning difficulties, specifically having an IQ below 70, now more generally, mentally deficient.
We didn't like there was just like it was just so like organic how we found out, and it was just like the most like the ultimate confirmation. And I was just like, oh fuck. Again, like there was just always like this feeling of being watched. And at this point my friends, like from like I stopped living at this house when I was 16, so from like ages like 13 to 16, more and more I started hearing from my friends, there's something weird, like I feel like this, or I saw this, or this is like just there's like a weird vibe here in this house, like just without me even telling them anything about anything. And that's the scariest shit. When I was 14, my parents split up, and so my mom, who was normally there all the time, like moved out, and my dad was a truck driver. Like he was a fucking truck driver, so he'd be gone for like, let's say like 3 to 4 days out of the week, like fully out of like the house. And so I was by myself because my older brother, he graduated early. He like moved up to fucking like Reno, Nevada, and I was home alone. And at this point I had a boyfriend who shouldn't have been my boyfriend, because he was a grown man and I was 16, barely. He was 20, and that's just not good. That's not okay. Like he was like a family friend, so I thought it was okay, but like it wasn't. I've known this guy since I was like a small child, like 4 or 5 or something. Like I called his dad my uncle, like that's how close like our dads were. So it's kind of fucked. Like that's some psychological fuck shit. I remember one time I was on the phone with him at night, because like he lived in California. Like it was like definitely like a long distance type situation. And I was like in my living room. From somewhere in the hallway towards the direction of my room, I heard the craziest thing I've probably ever heard. I'm like getting chills right now thinking about it, and like I'm getting nervous, my heart's beating faster. A very distinct sound of someone like pounding, but like a muffled pounding. It sounded like they were in something trying to get out. I had this, like, I honestly think it was like a fucking like old ass like boom box maybe even, but like, because I just wanted to like hear music in the mornings and shit, and like I was like, I didn't have like an abundance of money, so I didn't have like a fucking iPod, but it's like I had that, and it was just, but it was like out of tune. Like I had it on some radio station, and all of a sudden, like while I'm on the phone with him, like I hear this muffled pounding, and the radio starts like making noise and like amplifying the sound I'm hearing of like that's what it sounded like.
And the Oscar goes to...
Like that was, yeah, that's the sound. And I was like, oh my god, Jeff, what the fuck? Like, Jeff, what do I do? Like I'm so fucking scared. Like, and because like I'm in my living room and I hear it between the living room and my bedroom, so it's like I can't even go to sleep. Like I literally slept on my couch for 2 days. Like, I did not go in my, like anywhere near the vicinity of my bedroom where it sounded like the noise was like stemming from. And for like 2 days until my dad got home, and then like I think by then it was the weekend, and I even invited like a friend over before I'd go in my own bedroom by myself. I was so fucking scared because I would just hear it. Like I'd be like, it'd finally like the sound would go away for a while, for like an hour or two, a couple hours, and then all of a sudden it would just happen again. It was so fucking terrifying. I barely ate. Like I was like not even showering in my own bathroom. It's like my dad was in there, so I went and showered in his, because like I was like, where the sound was coming from, my room was right next to the bathroom. Like I couldn't shower in my own bathroom. Like it wasn't gonna happen. Like it just wasn't. So fucking terrified. Like I was terrified. I'd never in my life heard anything like that. That would just come and go and sounded so fucking like real. Like I could hear it. The radio was like fucking playing it sometimes, and like I never turned it off because I was too scared to touch it. I was like, it's clearly fucking coming through here. What if it's possessed, and what if I get like
possessed by Satan?
And like I don't know. Like I was just so fucking scared. And Jeff was a piece of shit and did not fucking cover me at all. He's just like, you're fucking faking it. If you want to hang up, just like fucking hang up. And I was just like, I'm scared. Like, can you help me? Like feel better in any way? Again, in part 4, you'll hear another guy to be just as fucking like rude about like a situation. Which like I get, it's not believable. Someone says that like they're hearing ghosts in their house. That like it probably sounds like some fuck shit, but like it's not. Sometimes it's not. Like in my case, that happened when I was like 16. Like again, other things happen all the time where it was just like unexplained noises and like footsteps and like feeling watched and shit like that. But nothing like as concrete. Like I put like the more important shit, like more like predominant shit like in this. Like I didn't put everything, but I put like the more like the bigger shit in here. So last story I have of this house, when I was 16 and I was like, you know, finishing sophomore year of high school, all that. My best friend at the time, she stayed with me a lot for like extended periods of time because like her family fucking sucked. When we had to move, because we got basically evicted because my parents split up, and like my dad was trying to get like the shit like fixed on the house to get like a lower payment adjustment type thing that Obama was doing at that time. But like my mom filed bankruptcy, basically fucked it all up. And so that happened. So we had to move. It was literally like less, it was like an 1/8 of a mile, not even, it was like a 1/10 of a mile away from where I was. So like I was literally gonna live like that close again. So like we're moving into these apartments from the house. My best friend's with me. And at this time, I had this mood ring, which I don't believe in like mood rings now. Like obviously like I'm fucking like 28.
I don't fucking believe in mood rings.
Like it's definitely like temperature based shit. Me and my friend had been planning to go camping with my dad. My dad was also gonna drive because we're like fucking 16. We've been planning to go to Bryce Canyon and like go camping and shit and like hiking and whatever. My friend was with me because like we were planning on like after we move in, like we'll go then, you know, like we'll go camping and shit. So she was with me for like a full week. But at this time I had like a mood ring that I wore all the fucking time. I lost my mood ring while we were moving. as we're moving into my apartment, like first day living there type shit, like first night like sleeping there. I opened my closet in my bedroom, and on the left side of the closet on the shelf there was my mood ring. And like my friend didn't even know like this happened. Like she just wasn't that type. Like she was like a very like I'll bring sage to like fucking like purify your house type bitch. Like she wasn't gonna like fuck with me that way. Like she'd known some of the shit like that has happened. Like she wouldn't do that. Like she just wasn't that kind of person. So like it wasn't her. Like it was definitely just like, it was just like the only thing, the lone thing just sitting on the shelf in my closet. I hadn't even touched that side of the closet yet. Why was it sitting there by itself on a shelf when I hadn't even had it since before we started like moving into this apartment? Like and at that moment I knew this apartment would be so fun to live in. I knew it'd just be a great experience, super calming, like no pressure, like no paranoia, like no feeling of being watched, no like seeing shit, no like floating objects. Part 3 is about to get fucking fucked. Like it's gonna, that's the craziest part of this. Like it's the most insane part of what will probably be all these videos. Part 4 is like right behind it. What the fuck was that? I'm not okay. What the fuck was that noise? See, that's what I hate about this. Like I'm so fucking paranoid now. When I was making part 1, I get scared and stop recording, and this is the 3rd time, and now like shit's happening again, and I'm just like scared. I'm trying to just like power through because it's so scary. And just like the place where I'm hearing noises from is just like the place that like the most shit has been seen and happened at. And it's just, there's almost like areas and houses, in my opinion, like as far as my experience goes, that like have more activity than others. Hallways for me have always been a thing, more open spaces, not as much like bedrooms, but open spaces. Part 3 hopefully won't take me like 6 months or whatever to like fucking like come through with. But I hope you liked the video. If you didn't or don't believe me, like too bad, so sad, fuck you bitch. Like I don't care. If you believe me, that's cool, and like let's talk. You know, you probably experienced this too. If you do believe me, is what I assume. If you don't believe me, like I literally don't care, because like I know what I've experienced, and like it took me a long time to like believe my own fucking eyes, basically. But like I know what happened. Like I know. And I wish it didn't, because like I said in my first video, I don't like this shit. Like I wish I didn't have any kind of insight or opening or experience with this shit. Like I truly wish I was just like a normal person who like didn't believe in this shit and like didn't ever see anything that would lead me to believe in this shit. Like I truly, because it's very scary sometimes. Like it's just, it's an on-edge feeling that like just puts a gross feeling in your stomach. Like I don't like experiencing this kind of shit. Like I truly don't. And especially in part 3, you'll see like part 3 of this video is like the time period where people in my life are like directly seeing shit. Like I don't know what about it like caused this to happen, but more people than ever when they hang out with me would see shit in my apartment without me even telling them anything about anything. Because it's not like I don't want to tell people that. Like I didn't at that time, especially like because I wanted friends. Like I wanted people to come over and like hang out and shit. Like I would never tell them that to like scare them away. But they'd tell me all these things that they would see and hear and experience in my apartment. I was just like, fuck, I know, right? So stay tuned for that shit. Like if you haven't subscribed and you feel like it, like don't fucking forget, go do it now. It's not that hard. It's a click, just a little click. You click all day long, just click on that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you, you'll see me next time. Fuck. Bye guys.